Hello everybody, my name is Brian Kindlespire, and this episode we're going to be making, you probably can't see it, but one of these keychains, it's like a wooden key tag that has the engine's displacement and cubic inch of, the vehicle that the keychain goes with. I've made probably 4 or 5 of them now, and they're kind of cool, and I figured I'd share with you how I make them. Yeah, you kind of just start out with a piece of oak. I prefer to use oak rather than anything because it's hard. I've only had one of them break, coincidentally, and it's actually sitting right there. Yeah, so I normally just cut it into, I've learned to make them thicker after that, so cut them into 1/4 inch. This is actually from our first trailer.
That's from the trailer?
I believe. No, it's not. The trailer was pine. This was from the thing we picked up with the trailer. That we were going to make the new... No, that is made out of the trailer now. That's what it is. The second trailer is made out of this.
The second trailer?
What it is now, yes.
What it is now is made out of...
Anyway, it was like a bed frame, yeah.
Yeah, it was a bed frame. Because I saw the one piece of wood when we wrecked it.
Oh yeah, the pine, yeah. It was pine, now it's oak, and this is what it's made of.
Awesome.
It's really nice.
Strong, then.
It is.
And, that trailer has
yeah.
a four-wheeler before.
It's like perfect because it's almost the exact width that I need it, and I can get like 3 of them out of it. Well, maybe only 2. But yeah, I've still got pieces of it left over, so I just start with a table saw, and I rip it into like 1/4 inch thick sections. And if it gets too thick, I can sand it down with a belt sander normally. And then when I get it to the right size, since I've made these before, I make templates out of just like, I don't know what to call them, Microsoft Word, but I use Apple, so it's Pages. They like templates out of paper, print them up and cut them out. This is basically like what the size of it's gonna be. If I can hold it without dropping it. With the hole right there. Might be a little bit off-centered because it was originally handmade. And then I also make stencils in the same thing. This is for a 2006 6.0 liter diesel. So it's going to be a 6.0 on one end, and then it's going to be the 365 cubic inch on the other side. So it'll be like back to back, like 6.0 and 365. I have one for my truck. I made one for like 2 or 3 other people.
You made one for my truck, for the Mustang.
Yeah. I think I made one for Jack.
Yeah, for that was Mustang one.
Oh, I thought I made it as
Did
a truck.
you make a 6.0 one?
I thought so.
You did make a 6. Oh, maybe you did.
Maybe I
The
didn't.
only one I remember is the Mustang, the 5.0.
Maybe yeah, because the 5.0 is the one I have, and I think I just made 2 of them. But yeah, so it should be pretty easy. I already cut those out. The hardest part is cutting them out. You can use an X-Acto knife, but I just use a razor. And you gotta remember when you're cutting out for things like a 0, that you have to leave some of the top and bottom of the black for the middle part to stay in there, and then you can just fill it in with a Sharpie, you'll see later. Yeah, it's not very hard, so we'll start by cutting it on a table saw. Yep, so off we go. Everybody in this video is 18 years or older. Viewer discretion is advised, and I am a professional carpenter, so all of these actions are supervised by a professional, and it is not advised that you repeat any of these actions at home. All right, I have ripped my 1/4 inch thick piece. Well, it's not quite 1/4 inch, but it's in between. Oh, what would that be? Whatever, between 3/16 and 1/4 inch. 7/32. I've ripped this, and I have one of them marked out, but I can get 2 out of it, so I'm gonna do 2 just because I can. But you only need 1 to make 1 keychain. So I'll mark out the other one with this stencil, I guess, that I have. Put it like that, and then we can trace it, and there we go. So, alrighty, and then you can cut it out with the jigsaw. Not the best way to do it, but it's kind of the only thing I have right now. So that's what I'm gonna use. All right, I have my keychain cut out. Used the jigsaw, or well, I used the table saw to rip it to about that thin, and then I used the jigsaw to cut it out into the rough shape, and then I normally use a belt sander to sand it down, but not always. It just depends how close I get it with the jigsaw. And then I'll sand it by hand with a sheet of sandpaper just to get rid of the rough edge that the jigsaw leaves. And then it's ready for stain. I drill a hole in it first for the, whatever they call it, that spring-loaded like ring that, you know, makes it a keychain. So I drill a hole for that first. I honestly don't know what size I'm using. Well, here, it's about as thick as the keychain, so maybe 3/16. Yeah, I just go straight through. I don't pilot it. I just go straight. It's oak, so it's hard, but unfortunately, since it's hard, it's also brittle. So it might crack a few in the process of cutting it, or you might crack one drilling it. And also use caution when you're drilling. I like using a drill press, but yeah, so I'm gonna drill the hole first, and then I'll pick out a stain color. Probably end up going with that one. And then stain it, let it dry for just a few minutes because I'm impatient. And then I'll use the Sharpies and stencils to write the letters on it, and then give it a few clear coats. So yeah, I'll start drilling the hole. Oh, I heard something crack, and I hope it wasn't the keychain. Meh, good enough. It's about the right size hole. Eesh, got a little bit off center, but they're handmade, whatever. I'm just gonna drill the other one. Nice. All right, those went smoothly. None of them broke. I'm just gonna take a little bit of hand sandpaper. This is 150. It's the first thing I pulled out of the drawer. Just to kind of get rid of the burr that the drill bit leaves. Always sand with the grain. And I normally make my keychains with the grain going this way. Yeah, some people might disagree with that, but if I have it going this way, I feel like that's more end grain up here, which makes it more brittle this way. So I normally make mine with the grain going cross lengthways. So yeah, I'll just sand with the grain and take the burr off of it on the both of them. Good enough. And then I'll probably stain this one too, but I'm just making it just in case I have another keychain. Or in case one of them breaks, because we were outside, which has been in the negatives lately, and is now probably like 20, 19, 20 something. And coming down here, which is probably 60, 65, 70. Temperature changes can get them too, or you know, they might twist crazy. So it doesn't hurt to have a backup. So I guess I'll choose stain color now. Like I say, I'm probably gonna go with this one, which is a special mix that we actually have made up for staining our dining room table that we refinished. But it's whatever color you want. If you like light, go light, dark, red, whatever you want. I'm gonna open them up and try some of them. Here's some stirring sticks, and I'll probably go for a color kind of like that one. I don't know, that's just the color I like. So this is personal preference, but I'll open up a few cans of stain and see what color I like better. Honestly, I'm gonna use a glove because I don't want stain on my hands. I normally don't wear bitch mittens, but I will make an exception. That's kind of a big cloth. That'll work. All right. So for this part, I've mixed up this can of stain. I just used a scrap piece of wood. And it's pine, so the color won't be exactly what it's going to be on oak, but it's close enough for reference, for me at least. So think that might be a little bit too dark for me. I do not remember what stain I used last time. I thought it was Minwax though, but it wasn't Golden Oak. Might be English Chestnut, that might be what it was. I'm gonna try that next. But that's just a little bit too dark for me. I'm holding the rag with stain in it in the hand I don't have the glove on. Genius. Anyway, yeah, so I won't use that because it's a little bit too dark, but that's okay. Why not? I don't mind that one. So we're gonna make it English Chestnut. I'm gonna get a glove for this hand too. I don't feel like getting stain on me. Varnish is another thing, but stain just does not come off. So I'm using Minwax's English Chestnut. And I'm just gonna hit this real quick. If you're lazy, you can dip the whole thing in, pluck it out and dry it off, but that kind of makes a mess, so. I'm just gonna try the edge first to make sure I like the color. Yeah, I like that. And keep in mind, when you're staining things, end grain always turns out darker than side or face grain. So just keep that in mind. If you've got a really dark color, it's gonna be even darker on the sides, or on the end grain. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, it's gonna turn out pretty good. And you wipe it on kind of thick first, and then wait, whatever the can says. I think it says like 15 minutes. And then you can wipe it off. That way it kind of soaks into the wood. But as I have said, I am a very impatient man. So I'll give it till I'm done with the other one and then I'll wipe it off. I'm just gonna put it in the vise for now to let it dry. Okay, and I'll hit this one. Okay, and then for a rag, you can use anything. We used to use torn up t-shirts, napkin, paper towel, whatever you want, doesn't matter. Probably shouldn't have thrown that away yet. I still have to wipe them off. But yeah, doesn't really matter. The old switcheroo. Okay. Just gonna wipe it off and see how it looks. If it's not satisfactory, I guess I'll leave it, but. Alright, so I have one of the keychains done. Well, I have both of them done, but I haven't wiped off the other one yet. That's how it looks. This is just mine. That's the color I like. I do, you know, it's not perfect, but it's handmade, so, you know, deal with it. Yeah, that's kind of it. I'll just I'll line these up with it, and then take a Sharpie and just color it in. So, yep, there we are. That's the base of it. You can kind of take it from here and put whatever you want on it. I'm kind of like engines. I'm kind of into them. So I normally write the liters of displacement and the cubic inch. In this case, it's a 6.0 365. You can put whatever numbers you want. You can put like the year it was made. I don't really recommend a whole lot of numbers more than 3 because it gets kind of crammed, I guess is the right word. Like on mine, it's a 7.3 444 cubic inch, and the 4 is like, the edge of the 4 is all the way over here, and the other edge is all the way over here, and it's really crammed. I can actually give you dimensions if you want here. I don't know if we have a tape measure, but these words that are on here, maybe if I hold it upright, you can take like a screenshot. I'll leave it like black. There we go. That's pretty close close to straight up and down. Maybe you can take a screenshot of that if you want. But the words this way are 1 3/4 inches, and this way are, I believe, just under 3/4 inches. That's up to personal preference too. But that's how I made them. I think the font size was like 75 or 80 at PT or whatever. Yeah, it's up to you, but that's what I do. So now I'm just gonna lay it out, put the paper on them, color it in with the Sharpie. One thing you do want to make sure when you're making this is that you have your one side, so the one side's 6/0 and the other side is 365. Make sure that you put them correctly so that it's like this, the hole here, and then the other one is the same, is facing the same way. I believe I did that once and messed it up. So that's 6/0, 365, you know, not flipped around. Make sure the holes are through on the right side. Yeah. Yeah, 6/0 goes on this side. I'll take my hands off, or my gloves off for this. I'll be done with them. And then I'll use a like ultra fine point Sharpie or whatever to like color the perimeter in, and then use a fine point Sharpie to get the rest of it. It's not really fine, it's just a standard Sharpie. Yep. Need better light. Lighting is not very good down here.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah. I lied, I might just fill it all in with this one. This is the first time I've used a ultra fine point with this. I normally just use that one. I think. I don't know, I haven't done it in a while. Be very careful when you're doing this not to move the paper because it will smear, get your words off. The other thing you do not want to do is draw on the paper with the Sharpie, because if you draw on it enough, if you take that one and just like color it, it'll soak through the paper and it will smudge all behind the letters. I did that once too. Had to sand it and start over. It was not fun, to say the least. And I only use a stencil because I'm not very good at freehanding stuff. I'm very artistic. Autistic, maybe, but...
You're artistically challenged.
I am autistically and artistically challenged. Okay, before I lift it up to color in the rest of the 6, I go to the 0. Make sure you do like all of your numbers or letters first before you remove the stencil, because it's kind of hard to line back up. It is possible, but it's a little bit difficult. Yeah, I'm not even going to use the other Sharpie. Perfect. Okay. Just to dry. Good enough. That's kind of the rough outline. I'll just freehand the rest, kind of curve the rest of the zeros in. Like I was saying, you don't want to cut out the full 0 because, well, then the middle part's out, and then you have to freehand the middle. And I'd rather freehand 2 ends and then the whole middle. So, kind of done with that. We can throw that away. And then I'll just freehand this. Also, something I have learned with this is that when you're filling in these parts, like I'm doing now, to go over the rest of it. Because not only will the Sharpie soak into the wood, but when you're doing these little parts, you'll see it through the clear coat. You'll see like the arch for the top, and you'll just see this thinner. So just kind of go over the whole thing. It doesn't take that long, and it's not that hard. Just don't screw up. All right, I've got my marking out of the keychain done. That's what it looks like. In my opinion, these letters are small. These are not how the other ones turned out. I would make them a little bit bigger, but it's good enough. It's not bad. So now I'm going to apply a bunch of coats of, I use this. You can really use any clear coat. I like a spray. There's pros and cons to a spray and a wipe. If you brush on varnish, it'll like melt the Sharpie and drag it. But it goes on thicker, you don't need as many coats. This is more like potent, more solvent, so it melts it easier, so you have to do really thin coats, but it sprays on more even. You don't get brush marks, but you gotta do a lot of them. So just start off with like really thin coats, and then after the first probably 2 coats, you can put them on thicker, but you don't wanna melt that Sharpie because it'll run. It will literally like mascara? I've just lost that word. Am I right? Okay, yeah, it'll melt like mascara. So be very careful with that. I've done that once. It was a mess. Yep, so I'll test it out over here, and then I'll spray the keychain down. So. Yep, see it's already melting just from those 2, which I kinda knew after I put the first one on, but it's not bad. So I'm just gonna leave it like this for a little bit till it's dry. I might even leave it for a while. It says 15 minutes, it dries, handle in an hour, additional coats before 2 hours or after 72. So I can put it on whenever I want after it's dry. I have a fan around here somewhere. I might bring the fan on it. Just so I can do more coats on it. I definitely will. I don't like how it's smearing. But yeah, you can put as many coats as you want. I normally do like 4 to 6 with a spray can. But just don't be impatient. Oh, sorry for the audio. Definitely give it time to dry. Don't make it dry too fast with a fan like I'm doing. So, yeah, I'm setting the fan at low. Just to move air because I really want this stuff to dry like this. Huh? Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, 'cause this stuff, this is Ace's polyurethane spray. I think Rust-Oleum, well, I think everybody has one, but Rust-Oleum I use too, and it's kind of nice, but it's more of a, I don't know really what the difference is. Don't ask me, but I feel like this is thinner and has more solvents in it, and I feel like the other stuff is more of like a paint to where it's thicker. I've used both, and I can tell a difference, but when it's done, it doesn't really matter. I probably should have used the other one, but I had more of this stuff, so. So I'll let it dry a little bit, and then I'll hit it a couple more times, but. Already starting to dry. You might want to go in between side, maybe don't finish one side completely and then do the other side. Maybe do like half your coats on the one side and let it dry for a couple days and then turn it over and do the other side. But you just want to make sure the finish is really good because it's stained wood, so it'll be fine, but the Sharpie is on it, and the Sharpie will wear off. I've had my keychain for a little over a year now, and it is starting to wear off, which I don't care. I like the look, and mainly I'm too lazy to make another one. But
As you're making one right now.
well, hey, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah. So the more coats of poly you use, the longer it'll last. And you can always, it's wood. You can sand it off. More Sharpie, more poly. But yeah, I just kind of like to be generous with the polyurethane. And it is, since it's polyurethane, it's a UV blocker. So the sun won't fade it. To a certain extent, the sun won't fade it. I would say the approximate lifetime of one of these keychains for the Sharpie for everyday use is probably 2.5 years, which isn't bad. But they look nice. I use them for decoration, anything. I mean, that one in the studio I used for probably half a year, and it still looks really good. It maybe broke, but yeah, so that's kind of all there is to it. I can show you the finished product when it's done, but really all it is just more coats of polyurethane. And that would be how you make a wooden keychain. So remember, stay safe, be patient, keep the ideas flowing, and anything's possible. And for any early subscribers, this is actually where we filmed our first episode of our first show, Building with Brian, 4 years ago, I believe.
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
We started making it 6 years ago, and 5 years ago, I think, is when we first started filming it.
Okay, so 6 to 5 years ago, 5 to 6 years ago. It was actually right here. I believe some of these dents were from that DVD player episode. The desk was assembled right here and destroyed out front. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, just a little Easter egg for the early subscribers. So, yep, that's kind of it.